Good morning and welcome to the Recovery Report Live. I'm your host today, Matthew Sengsourinh, president of GlobalPro Florida. GlobalPro is your insurance coverage expert before, during, and after any loss or damage. The pedigree of our team, the collective extensive experience, and the unwavering advocacy that we provide to our clients makes us all uniquely qualified to represent over 1,500 community associations, dozens of developers, contractors, and builders, hundreds of business owners, and hundreds of private clients and family offices. We've represented all those clients all over North America and in the Caribbean. Over the past 12 and a half, almost 13 years, our team has managed a recovery of over $1.2 billion. Today in the Griffin studio, right here at the Nucleus Hub in Coconut Grove, Florida, I have a very special guest. I've been waiting a long time to do this. He doesn't know this, but I've been plotting to get him in here into the studio, and I'm very excited to introduce him today. And in particular, we have a lot of synergy. We come from some of the same places in the world. He spent a lot of time in New York. I spent a lot of time in New York, as everybody knows. He spent a lot of time in Chicago. I spent some time in Chicago, I should say. And now we're all here in South Florida. I think it's the weather, the taxes, or maybe a combination of some of all that stuff, right? But I wanted to introduce a man who's making an indelible mark here in not only Edgewater, but downtown and Brickell, all the way down here to City Hall in Coconut Grove, but District 2 in general, if you want to call it that. His name is Rick Madan, president of the BNA, the Biscayne Neighborhood Association. Rick's career has been nothing but remarkable. We're going to start on Park Avenue South in New York City, and New York Life, where for 40 years, 4 decades, that's 4 decades, Rick rose through the ranks, becoming a managing director towards the end. He oversaw multi-million-dollar operations across all those major cities that I mentioned before, whether it was New York, Chicago, right here in South Florida. His leadership at New York Life, from what we've discussed in conversation, what I've known and read about his background, wasn't just about numbers and bookkeeping and things like that. Rick is a people person, right? He honed his skills, leadership, management, communication, building teams, fostering talent, all of the tools, all the skill sets that are necessary to do what he's doing today. So he left the corporate world, he retired, and now today he's in we'll call it public life. We'll call it public service here in Florida, and he's finding his way, rising through the ranks right now. And we're going to talk a little bit about his new outside of the BNA, his new title here and what board he's working on here in the city. And just in case everybody wants to write in or send an email to get in touch with him, but really Rick's ability to navigate the complexities of the financial world, coupled with his commitment to ethical leadership and the respect of his colleagues and clients alike, really brought him to today, which again, he's the president of the BNA. It's a role that places him at the forefront of the community, and I think that's what we're going to get out of today's discussion. What's going on with the BNA? What's going on here in District 2? How he's leading the change here, and how he's uncovering some bits of maybe a little sense of impropriety here and there that he's tackling to try and make sure that everybody in District 2, especially the Biscayne area, Edgewater, downtown, and Brickell, are all living the best lives and having everything that they can at their fingertips. President Rick Madan represents 21 condo associations today. That's hundreds, maybe thousands of residents, I guess, across that number of buildings there. And his commitment to excellence is what is driving that organization at the moment. I want to just take a second here. It is a true privilege. I want to thank you up front. I appreciate the time. This is a big deal for me. I've wanted to do this for some time now, and I'm glad to have you in here. So without further ado, Mr. Rick Madan, welcome to the show.
Well, thanks, Matt. I appreciate you inviting me out here. The beautiful offices GlobalPro has here, and it's quite exciting.
Awesome. So I want to, again, I always talk about how these types of podcasts, these types of we'll call them interviews, are not really interviews for me. I like to have a conversation. So first, let's take it a little bit further back, and let's start out with your personal side. You've had an impressive journey from corporate life to retired life to now to public service. I want to touch on that a little bit. I want to talk about your early life, where you come from, where you went to school, how you got to that place in the city working for New York Life, and then if we can transition from that to how you got to now your public service life and the retired life and all the traveling and fun you're having. So.
Sure. Let's see how quickly I can go through the 4 decades.
All right, let's do it.
1 month at a time? No.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I grew up in New York, and so that's all I knew. And my first real job after I graduated college turned out to be New York Life. And it was dumb luck how I ended up with the company, and I do like to share the story because in those days New York Life didn't do much advertising, and this was back in the early 80s, by the way, so it kind of gives you a time frame of when I joined the company. But a good friend of mine who lived downtown, his grandfather had gotten a recruiting letter from New York Life, and my friend's mother happened to open the letter and said, and my friend's name was Lenny, by the way, and he said, you know, Lenny and I, we both were not working at the time, and she said, well, Lenny, here's a offer letter from New York Life. Why don't you go for the interview? The funny thing was the letter was addressed to his grandfather, who had been dead for 4 years, by the way. So, but Lenny did go for the interview, and then the interview at that time, New York Life's offices were in the Empire State Building, and then Lenny showed up for the interview, and he immediately knew this was not for him. But the person who was interviewing it wouldn't let him leave until he said, you got to know somebody who might be interested that I should be talking to. And then he tells the story. He says, Rick, I just had your number and name, obviously phone number memorized, so I gave him your name just so I could get out of there. And then sure enough, a couple of days later, Mike, who was the guy who was interviewing, called me, and I went in for the interview, and you know, I guess 4 decades later, it was history. So I started in sales with the company. I spent 3 years in sales, and I guess they liked what they saw, and they asked me if I wanted to go into sales management, where you get to build and hire and train a team under you within a large branch office, and that's what we were at the Empire State Building at that time, called the Knickerbocker office, after the New York Knicks, I guess.
That's right. That's right.
So I was fortunate. You know, I had some early successes, and in my third year, I was actually the #1 sales manager in all of New York Life, which is all over the United States.
Wow.
So that was an accomplishment, and you know, when you start doing good things, the company recognizes it, and the next step is they want to give you your own branch office to run, which is very exciting. And my whole thing was I wanted a branch office in New York because there were many offices. That's the territory I knew. And then kind of got a curveball, and an offer was made to move to Chicago. And I share this story that this is an offer that you know, my wife accepted on my behalf because she's from Illinois.
There you go.
So she wanted to get back home, and this was a great way. So you know, at that time we had 2 boys, 3 and 1, so young kids.
Wow. How old were you at that point?
Oh, wow, this is so if you go into, I was 30
Okay.
at that time.
Pivotal age. Obviously,
30,
you have kids
31,
already,
yeah.
married. Yeah, that's a big decision.
So I didn't know anybody in Chicago.
Yeah.
But obviously New York Life had a nice branch that I got to take over, and you know, it was cold. I remember that I think I moved there in February, and that time I actually saw my car reading like -30. And I said, you know, I was cold in New York, but you know, Chicago was at a different level.
The lake effect is very, very different. Right?
So, but you know, I tell you, it was great because we raised our kids in the suburbs of Chicago, and my wife loved it. They loved it, and we spent almost 14 years there. And then I got an opportunity to move back to New York, and it was in a much higher position within the company. And you know, my family was not happy, by the way. They did not, because that's where the kids had grown. They were in school, they had their friends. We had our friends socially, but it was an opportunity that was very difficult to turn down. And it was basically, I was going to be put in charge of about a third of all the sales, recruiting, and training for New York Life.
Wow.
And New York Life being a Fortune 100 company, it's been now around for over 180 years. That was a pretty big deal.
Yeah.
So we made the move back to New York, but you know, lived in New Jersey, northern New Jersey, and worked in Westchester and Manhattan. So it was a lot of fun. And then you know, there was a time when I said, you know, I want to retire when I'm 55. That was the big thing, you know, with New York Life. This was the type of company you could do that if you wanted to. And obviously the company didn't want me to retire, so because I bought a place in Miami at that time, and because our plans were to move to Florida to retire.
Okay.
And so they said, well, we don't really want you retiring. we understand you bought a place in Miami. I don't know how they found that, by the way. So it's amazing, I guess.
Well, they're obviously good at recruiting because they recruit you all the way from the beginning, so they know. They know what's going on.
So they know. They knew, and so they said, well, we're thinking of making a change in South Florida. Why don't you go run off South Florida for us? And we had about 4 offices out here. Main one being up in Sunrise, but we had one in Brickell, one in Doral, one in Palm Beach Gardens, and one in Naples. So it was different locations. And they said, well, but if we move you out there, you can't work 2 years and retire, right? So I said, okay, how about 5 years? So believe it or not, to the day, I retired exactly. I started, I think, in South Florida August of 2015, and I retired July of 2020.
There you go.
So exactly 5 years, and then I'd been on the board of my building, and that was the extent of how I wanted to stay busy. I wanted to travel, and then we met someone from BNA who was running the Biscayne Neighborhood Association, myself, and so kind of got involved with it, but didn't really like the direction. I felt a neighborhood association, not that I knew a lot, by the way, about public service, right? It was all private industry and working in the corporate life, so really didn't know how the public side of it functions. So the reason I wanted to get involved, it's something that actually my father had told me when I was in my younger days. And it didn't make a lot of sense what he told me, but I guess as I grew older, and this is something now I teach my sons, it is very simple. He said, look, a person's life is divided in 3 stages. He looked at it in 3 stages, and he said, look, the first third of your life you should learn. Right? You have to get educated, know what you're doing.
Yep.
And then, so you learn the first third of your life, and then you earn the second third of your life. You got to make money, right? If you have a family, you have to support your family, you have to pay your bills. And he says, the last third of your life you should return, right? Give back. If you can, if you're fortunate enough to do that, right? Because not everybody is fortunate enough to do it. So I said, this is kind of interesting. That's why I said I started with being on the board of my building in Edgewater, and then Biscayne Neighborhood Association. So this association was not going in the direction that I felt it should be, and the guy who was running it, good guy, but didn't really have a vision for it, and did things the way I didn't like. So myself, and then I'd met another person who was involved with Morcos, who very important person who works with me right now. We had met each other, and so we made a decision: either we're going to walk away and we don't need this, or we're going to really put some time and effort into it and make it into a neighborhood association that people want to have. So as it turned out, we were able to take it over, and I was elected president. And at that time, I think, Matt, we had 3 associations as members and 1 or 2 commercial members.
Wow. So you've almost 10x that you're
Right.
almost there.
So we're into it about almost 2 years.
Wow.
Now, just under 2 years, we have 21 associations, and we have 24 commercial members.
Wow.
So in the beginning, I used to cold call buildings, all right? And say, hey, this is Rick Madan, president of the Biscayne Neighborhood Association. They said, oh, no, we don't want to talk to you. This is the true reaction I would get from property managers when I called them. And I would say, why not? We're a neighborhood association. They said, well, we don't care for BNA. Hasn't really done anything for us. And I kept getting this type of reaction to my phone calls. And I said, what's going on? They said, well, we don't like the direction it was going in, so we really don't want anything to do with it. And they took the name of the person who was running it. And I said, well, that person is not involved with the BNA anymore. They said, okay, then let's talk. So the first few people I had to really, meet, get to know, and convince them and the board members to rejoin, because they have to pay dues, right, to be members, because we're not for profit. So that's how we fund our work. And we're fortunate now today, we're not calling buildings to join us, believe it or not, they call us. I would say after we got 10, 12 commercial members, after that, it's been people calling us and saying, hey, can we join your organization? So that was an indication that, we were doing something good. And it's all about, as I meet people, elected officials, they say, well, Rick, what do you want? I don't really want anything. I just want you to do your job as an elected official that you're elected to do and take care of the citizens. So that's where I am today.
So I that was a lot. Thank you very much. That was it kind of came full circle. So the I think what resonated with me a lot is you talk about your dad, and we talk about our fathers all day and the lessons they taught us, so you learned, you earned, and now you're returning. Except I got to be honest, I don't think you're returning yet. You're still earning, because it sounds like you just found the new New York life. You're in a different cycle now, right? So you turned something around. You started from the bottom. You're cold calling. I'm sure you cold called one part of your career in the sales world, right? And then now all of a sudden, full circle. They're calling you. They're asking you, hey, we want to be involved. We see your leadership. We see your vision. We see everything that's going on. So I actually think that's just, you just recreated your life there. And the return, though, will be now, because you're changing the neighborhood. You're changing what's going on.
Well, I mean, the neighborhood is changing itself, right? Edgewater, as you know the history, and a lot of people know the history, was not an area people wanted to be in. If you go back 15 years, 20 years, it was actually a dangerous neighborhood. Yeah. But today, it's a coveted neighborhood.
You have huge brand names building over there.
Massive high-rises. I mean, it's amazing. Between the 21 associations, I think we probably represent about 15,000 residents.
Yeah, huge.
Currently, and I believe in the next 3 to 5 years, there's another 7,500 units that are going to be built in Edgewater.
Yeah.
So, and that's a good and bad story. Good in the sense that, great, the community's doing well. Developers are willing to invest, put money in, because they want a return.
Yeah.
But with that also comes, infrastructure issues. And so one of the things that I've been talking to the city about is, hey, is there a master plan for Edgewater? I have yet to see one. And it's kind of scary, because
I didn't know that. That's interesting. You think that
everyone
would go back to that to go back to center and refocus. Wow.
And it's interesting, Matt, with Edgewater, because if you think about development in general, anywhere in the United States or anywhere in the world, Edgewater is waterfront, right? We front the bay, the Biscayne Bay.
Yep.
So usually when development occurs, waterfront gets developed first, and then they move further away.
Yep.
Well, Edgewater, it's been the other way around, where the West has been developed and slowly made its way into the water, which is strange.
Yeah.
And to this day, I've not seen a master plan.
Wow.
That I keep asking for. So it is a concern, because infrastructure, and Miami's known for flooding anyway, and Edgewater hasn't escaped the flooding whenever it rains, or now with hurricane season. It's something we get really worried about.
I'd imagine, because I come to the meetings and I hear you speak all the time, I imagine obviously this is a big focus, because it's not like New York. We always say, and I hate to say that, because Miami's a whole totally different animal, totally different city, but it's not like New York. You can't build subways underground. You can't do that. So you got to do everything above ground. Right. And there's frankly not much room anymore. So that's I'm sure one of the biggest worries that you have, and I'm sure you're thinking about ways to try and advocate for the neighborhoods and fix that. But the traffic we talked about before, I mean, these things, you're right, the infrastructure is going to be, it's already an issue. It's going to continue to get worse, I think. But
yeah, it's going to get worse before it gets better. So it's one of the big things we are pushing. Our new commissioner, Damian Pardo, who's the District 2 commissioner, was elected last year, and so far we've had a great working relationship. And it's something very interesting that the commissioner shared with me, that right now, there's 5 districts in the city of Miami. 70% of the tax base for the city of Miami comes from District 2.
70%
of the tax base.
1/5 of
the property taxes.
Wow.
Now think about this.
Wow.
Well, and
It's just the density in general.
so just think of a building that was a lot before it got built to 50 stories, right? So the lot was generating what, 15,000 in taxes to the city.
Sure.
So let's say you have 300-400 units in this building now.
Yep.
Well, it's anywhere from $7 to $10 million of taxes. So from 15,000 to 10 million, let's say.
Wow.
That's one building.
Yeah. And that's going to double, I think, in the next 5 to 6 years.
And this is recurring revenue for the city.
Yeah.
So my question was, okay, Commissioner, since we're donating, we call Edgewater the donor town.
Yeah, yeah.
And we're fine with that. And look, I understand other commissioners have needs in other towns that they manage because, affordable housing is a big issue in the city of Miami. Homelessness is a big issue. So there's a lot of issues that we're dealing with. But our commissioner made a very important point at one of the meetings that I had attended, and he told the other commissioners as they were saying, well, we need money for this in our towns, and he said, look, Brickell, downtown, and Edgewater is like the urban core now for the city of Miami. And that's where the tax base is coming from.
Yeah.
Now, if you do not support the urban core, all the other areas are not going to matter because they're not going to exist.
Right. They're not going to pull from everywhere else.
So if you want the tax base to continue, you have to support, I don't want to call it the golden goose, but the one that's laying the eggs,
right,
that's feeding everyone.
Yeah.
You have to take care of it. And I'm not saying not take care of the other neighborhoods. Absolutely, we have to.
Right.
Because, what we're looking for is good governance from our elected officials to do the right thing. Because the residents of Miami deserve it. I mean, they work hard. We're fortunate we're in a state, there's no state income tax, but property taxes are not cheap. I mean, I remember living in Chicago, in New York, in New Jersey, and believe it or not, my real estate taxes were cheaper. So you say, wait a second, New York and New Jersey was cheaper than South Florida? Yes.
Yeah,
I had bigger homes out there, and I paid less in real estate taxes. So people are paying taxes, and they do want their elected officials to use that money wisely.
Yeah. So what do you think? I'm sure there's tons of ideas out there. I can think of 10 off the top of my head, but what do you think is going to change potentially bad outcome here from an infrastructure perspective? Is it elevated trains? The Metro Mover and the subway and whatever else gets built out, and we have more trains. Is it more buses? Like, what is it? Just public transportation, or what else could happen? You think that would help alleviate some of the issues?
Well, there are many things that can happen, and they are being looked at. But one of the things in my corporate life, I could make things move much faster, right? Because we had control. Whereas over here,
a little different.
That's what drives me crazy is very little control. Because, and I'll give you one example, right? So again, I'm learning, right? This is all educational for me, and I love learning. So, and we were talking about traffic, and I said, well, let's look at Biscayne Boulevard, especially in Edgewater, right? Because in the afternoons, going north, it's a parking lot.
Yeah.
So if you want to go from the Art Center, it starts backing up, and until 7:30, it's really tough.
Yeah.
So I said, hey, how about if we made it one way? Pick a street downtown and go up to 38th Street, make it one way going north, and make 2nd Avenue one way going south. That's going to help with traffic. Now, I'm a lay person, right? I'm not an engineer.
Sure.
So they said, well, Rick, Biscayne Boulevard is a state road, so FDOT would have to be involved, and then the county, and then the city. So,
a lot of red tape.
So right there, it stopped. But to get back to the point that you're making, FDOT is doing studies constantly with Biscayne Boulevard, with this construction going on with 395. What's going to happen there? Once it's done, it's going to be beautiful.
If it's done, I guess whenever it's done.
I mean it's going. It's slowly. And look, I've seen renderings of 195 where they want to put another story of traffic there. So So, I mean, and these are all hypotheticals,
Yeah.
by the way, right? This is, but there are things being looked at, but I would love for it to move at a faster pace than it does, because the population growth is not going to stop. These new buildings that are being developed, the cranes are up, right? There's a report in Miami, you can see the cranes that are up,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
And so that's going to continue, and unless, you know, the city wants those buildings sitting empty, which I don't think they want, it's something that we have to take seriously and pursue quicker than.
Yeah, and that goes back to your point before about taking care of the, I don't want to say, how you were describing it, but taking care of, the revenue base, really the tax base here, because it pulls everything else into it. But if that kind of goes the wrong way, then it affects, it has a ripple effect. It affects everything else around it, like you're saying. So
Yeah, because I mean, construction's not only going on in Edgewater; it's going on downtown.
Yep,
There's
very
buildings
cool
coming
downtown.
up in downtown. There's still some buildings being built in Brickell, even though Brickell is pretty developed. And so that's going to continue. And obviously, the developers get it. They know they're going to get a return on their investment, but they're also concerned.
Well, yeah, because they have to have people that want to be there, and they have to deliver a product and sell it, and yeah, of course.
Yeah, no, I've been talking to the developers, and they said, look, Rick, what can we do to help BNA? Because we want infrastructure issues to be handled as well, because it affects them.
Yeah, 100%. So, and it goes hand in hand always. So, so let's expand on that a little more, because I've heard a lot of instances where you're speaking to different people, different entities, different folks out here in the community, whether it's tenants, associations, whether it's developers, businesses, or whatever. Community engagement obviously central to everything. You made the comment before. Corporate life, private world, things move a little faster. There's less red tape. You can, if you need to get something done, you go to whoever's office and you say, hey, let's talk about this real quick, and you make a decision and you move. Now different in the public space, obviously, but let's talk about community engagement a little bit, and what are some of these initiatives that you're kind of talking about in general, but like, what are your most important initiatives right now, and what are you focused on?
Well, public safety is important. If you can believe it, as of May of 2023, Edgewater didn't have a police commander.
Wow.
So
70% of the tax base.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, but that's only Edgewater. I mean, downtown had, Brickell had, but Edgewater didn't.
Yeah.
So Manny Morales was the chief of police for the city of Miami. Myself and Marcos, every time we would see him, he would turn the other way, because he knew what we were going to do. We had temporary commanders.
Yeah.
So May of 2023.
But was that a personnel thing, or it just didn't exist?
No, it didn't exist. We shared we shared the police department with Wynwood.
Yeah.
Edgewater didn't even have its own police department.
So that's an infrastructure thing too. They didn't get there yet. They weren't
there. So he kept telling us, look, don't worry, I'm working on it. And then in May of 2023, he appointed Alfred Delgado, who's the police commander, who's been great. He's got a great team.
It wasn't that long ago, but it feels like
but you say, hey, so that's just an example, and they're going to need more police officers, right? Because just public safety. I mean, traffic. Obviously, we've talked about that a little bit. Green space is another big initiative that we look at. So as these developers want to put up buildings, one of the questions that we ask is, well, what green space are you going to provide?
Because you have the ocean front, the bayfront there with the parks. I mean, it's beautiful. That's what people want. They want to walk. They want to go work out. They want to.
So one of the ways we communicate with the community is we try to do surveys, because this is not about Rick or Morcos or the other members of the Biscayne Neighborhood Association of the DNA. It's about the residents and what do they want, and green space, infrastructure, condo legislation, staying on top of what's going on, so they know, hey, what is expected of the boards at condominiums, because a lot of different laws have been passed in Tallahassee. Service requirements, HOA fees. So all these things, insurance premiums going up, as you're well aware. So all these things are important to the residents. But one hot topic that came out of our surveys was completion of the Baywalk. And the Baywalk is prime waterfront property, where how nice would it be if you go from, let's say, 38th Street, 36th Street, and connected to Morgan Pace Park downtown, and then eventually Brickell. Can you, so as this we did over a year.
New York. It's like New York.
Yeah. So we did this over a year ago, and look, Miami Beach was successful in connecting it. It took them a long time, but they did it. So then,
packed. It's packed.
And it's packed, and it's beautiful.
Yeah.
So as I dug into this further and started seeing like, hey, who do I enlist? Whose help? Actually, there's been studies that go back to 2012, 2013 that were commissioned by the city of Miami of completion of the Baywalk. So I have photographs now that were,
12 years ago.
12 years ago.
Yeah.
So
it was just sitting on the shelf.
It's just sitting there, nothing really happening.
Oh, interesting.
But we did have a very good meeting about 2 months ago at the commissioner's office, where he invited different departments of the city, from zoning to permitting to. I was shocked that there was a standing room only in this conference room.
Right.
So as you know, any new developer that puts up a new property on the Baywalk has to on the bay has to complete the Baywalk in front of their property. They're required to.
Okay.
So it's an ordinance that already exists.
It's a fast way to get it done.
It's good, yeah, but there's also old properties that are not being developed, and they are not required. So how do you, the trick is, how do you connect it? So that's the challenge right now, but that's what we as the Biscayne Neighborhood Association is working hard with the commissioner and not only but also the fine commissioner, which is the Florida Inland and Navigation commissioner, somebody appointed by the governor actually, and he's been very helpful in giving us guidance and how funding would have to occur and how we have to approach these. So slowly we're starting to actually approach these buildings to say, hey, we'd love to bring the city in to talk to you about connecting the Baywalk. So that's something we're working on diligently right now.
Okay. So public safety, the green initiative, or green spaces, I should say. The Baywalk is kind of in there as well. Anything else that's a focus from the surveys that you're sending out there and receiving back?
Well, trash, flooding. I mean, it's the basic needs. Yeah. And you would say, wow, well, if you're paying all these taxes, should you have to ask the city to pick up your garbage?
Probably not, but
you should. I mean,
you shouldn't have to.
Right? But how about flooding? One of the things that causes flooding is not cleaning the drains.
Yeah.
So a question that I posed is, well, what's the schedule of cleaning drains? Guess what?
Yeah.
There isn't any. I think, well, wait a second, how could you not have a schedule for just cleaning up drains?
We get the calls all the time, obviously, when all that stuff starts to really flood and it gets bad. We get the calls, and every time I always ask the same question because I'm used to it. But I said, has anyone gone to clean the drains in the street? Has anyone gone outside to do it? And most of the time, actually, though, if I'm talking to a unit owner or someone on a board, oh yeah, I went outside and I pulled the stuff out, and we have a shovel where we've been taking, but never, the city came out and I saw them. It's unfortunate. It's never.
Well, there's a pilot that just started. I think today. What are we looking at? The middle of August. I think it started August 11th.
Okay.
It's going to run all this week. You know how in New York City they have those street sweepers?
Yeah.
So that's a pilot that's going on right now. Starting from like 1st or 2nd Street from Biscayne to 2nd Avenue.
And that's ongoing?
It's for this week.
Oh, just this week? Okay.
It's just a pilot to see how it goes. Yeah. But people have to move cars, otherwise they're going to get towed.
I just got a flashback of opposite side parking in New York and having to move the car and so
But that's how they clean the streets. You can't clean them if the cars are parked there.
Yeah.
So, but obviously we have challenges, and one of the big challenges is engagement from the community.
Yeah.
Because they want these things, but how do we engage? So we've been trying to do events. We do community meetings. We invite the community out. We did a summer kickoff when the kids, when school was out. We're fortunate Morgan Pace Park is in Edgewater. So we did a summer kickoff where we had over 500 RSVPs.
Looked fun, yeah.
And by the way, GlobalPro, helped us out. So always
very there for you guys.
Very supportive of the Biscayne Neighborhood Association. And I didn't know there were that many kids in Edgewater.
Yeah.
I was shocked because we had like face painting, we had water slides, we had ice cream through the Police Athletic League. We had an ice cream truck. We were giving out free ice cream. We had food trucks there.
Yeah.
And so we want to show the neighborhood that, hey, we're doing things to engage people. We have a meet and greet coming up with our commissioner late September that we're finalizing right now. We're going to do, as you're probably aware, and a lot of our residents are aware, Morgan Pace Park is going to be redone. It's a beautiful waterfront park.
Yeah.
So last time when they were planning on doing this, they just like threw a plan out there without any community input. We said, oh, time out. You know, how can you do this?
Yeah.
So this time we did surveys with our residents. We had over 570 responders. That's a lot of people responding to a survey.
So these surveys, just so we can have it on camera too, just so everyone knows, is this an email-based thing? Can people send their emails or sign up somewhere and register?
Yeah,
please?
no. So if you're part of our database,
Okay.
which is, you know, our domain is bnamiami.org.
Okay.
You can go on and
Put that in the caption and stuff too.
and sign up.
Yeah.
So you get our communications.
Okay.
So everybody who was signed up got an email. We used a survey company, and we gave them, hey, what's important to you?
Great.
Let's rank. And, you know, do you want open space? Do you want a community center? You know, what about the dog park? How big should it be? Should dogs be on leashes? You know, should we let them run loose?
Yeah.
And so we have got the survey. We shared it with the commissioner and then the Parks Department. So in the beginning of October, we're going to do a community meeting where we're going to talk about plans for Morgan Pace Park.
Wonderful.
And,
Right.
and the community's going to get to ask questions, and hopefully it's because they've hired consultants to the Parks Department has to get feedback, because it's already funded, I think, the redoing of the park.
Yeah.
But it's important that it's done properly, where the community is actually using the space, and it's not just being done because some consultant from you know, from Chicago says, hey, this is what a park should look like. And because they have beautiful parks in Chicago, not to say, but it should be the local community that gets a lot of input, and that's what I'm hoping for. And these are the things that we fight for now.
So will they have a pickleball court or not? Do you know?
I don't know. It was, they wanted it, you know, we had basketball courts, pickleball courts, volleyball courts. So we put everything we could on the survey
Great.
to give everybody input. But open green space was the number one thing everybody wanted.
Yeah. That view is unbelievable over there. Obviously, if Baywalk is completed and you have this nice big park, it's going to all come together. It's going to be great.
Well, think of the synergy that it brings to people, being able to walk on the Baywalk, but also the traffic it takes away from Biscayne Boulevard.
Yeah.
Because right now you have people on bicycles and, you know,
Scooters.
personal scooters. You can't have the public scooters anymore. Right? Those were thrown out. But and people walking, you know, their dogs, baby carriages. How about if you could shift some of that to the Baywalk? It actually helps with traffic.
That's true.
And it's more enjoyable for the people.
It's safer too. I mean, you put them in the place where there's less cars. Obviously, it's
Right.
safer.
And, yeah. One of the things, you know, which I think Midtown has done a great job of, is a very walkable town.
Yeah.
For the residents, and the Baywalk would bring that element to Edgewater and downtown.
Yeah, with an unbelievable view. Obviously, it's a nice breeze coming off the bay and everything too. So great. Well, good luck. Obviously, if we can help in any way, we're more than happy, and we're always supporting the BNA. We're always there whenever you guys need us, and we look forward to continuing to grow with you guys and do all that. So, I want to change gears a little bit here, because I want to talk more about the future. This is a little bit about infrastructure. We talked about a little bit about Baywalk and the future there, but let's talk about the BNA in general. So you have this community engagement. You're out there doing everything you need to do. You're focusing on the important things: public safety, green spaces, you know, the Baywalk and things like that. But you know, it's like a cliche question, but in 3 years and 5 years, I mean, I don't think you have a 5-year contract with the BNA. I think you're kind of open-ended right now,
No,
right?
it's open-ended.
Okay.
I could walk away tomorrow. So
Okay. Well, I hope that doesn't happen. But
well, yeah, my wife would like that to happen, by the way. But,
I'm sure she wants to travel. You guys travel a lot, and I'm sure she wants to do that. But what does the BNA look like in 3 years and 5 years from now? Like, what is your hope? What is your vision?
Well, the vision is community engagement. That's what we want. Right now, at last count, we have just under 5,000 registered voters in Edgewater.
Okay.
That's a lot of voters.
Yeah.
but guess what percentage of them vote for local elections?
Yeah, it's low, right?
It's
Is it single digits?
It's a very low number. I'm not even going to say it because it's going to sound bad. Okay.
Yeah.
So one of the things, right now we have the county commissioner, District 3, which is the county, elections going on.
Okay.
Where we have the incumbent and we have.
I'm embarrassed. I didn't even know that.
Yeah, but Matt, that's a great point. You don't have to be embarrassed.
But I should know that. I haven't had any exposure.
But people who live in the district, people in Edgewater, they don't know. So one of the things we did is we went out and interviewed the incumbent and the person who's challenging him for the seat. So we went out as the BNA. We asked questions. We sent them ahead of time. We said, hey, guys, these are the questions we're going to ask you. And we posted the videos to the registered voters and said, look, decide for yourself. But what I would love to see is the residents of Edgewater going out and voting for what they want. Because that's how, when I talked about how I would like things to move a little faster.
Sure.
How you in public space, in public life, how you move things faster?
Yeah.
You vote.
Yeah.
Right? Because then the elected officials say, oh, wait a second.
Yeah.
We better focus on these people because they're going to come out and vote.
Yeah.
And so 3 to 5 years, if I could get 30%, 40% of the registered voters to vote, we can influence elections.
That'd be a sea change.
For the positive, right?
100%.
For the positive, and then people are going to get what they want.
Yeah.
So we're going to continue engaging with the community, letting them know who we are, and it's not easy. We're not for profit, right? So it's not like we have money pouring in. We already talked about our domain, but we are on Instagram, so people can follow us on Instagram. We do some posting and trying to get the word out with Facebook. So, if people would go and sign up on our website, and as new buildings do come up in Edgewater, that they're joining the BNA.
Great.
And then we have more commercial members reaching out. And again, we want to make sure membership is right for commercial members of the BNA. There's a couple of organizations we turned down that wanted to join us. And we said, we don't think it's a good fit because we want to bring value to them, but they should also bring value to the community.
Of course.
So
right. Should be an even exchange or, somehow close to it. So wonderful. Great. Thank you. I appreciate that. I mean, I think we covered from the beginning all the way through to your vision, right? And so, whether you knew it or not, I've been trying to figure out a way to get you in here to come sit down and talk to us because I think this is very important. And of course, one of the biggest things I'm taking away is this community engagement, this idea that that's how you're going to drive all this stuff. And so, this is us engaging. I hope you bring in some of the other sponsors, some of the other members of the BNA.
I intend to do it, and hopefully, it's not going to take you 3 years to get me back and report on an update of where we are.
I hear you have a 10-year contract. That's what I hear is really going on here. So we don't have that much time. We got to get this thing moving, like you said. So, but thank you very much for joining me today. Appreciate it. Before we go, though, I want to give you the chance because you mentioned it before. How can they engage? Anyone that would like to engage. Whether it's LinkedIn or social media or email and
again, our domain is bnamiami.org. There's a simple email, communications, right, at bnamiami.org.
Yeah.
Instagram, Biscayne Neighborhoods Association. You'll get to see what we're doing and posting, and Facebook. So we're out there.
We're going to put everything in the caption.
Okay.
Anyone that goes to the caption, they can just click on it right away and get to you guys. Also, I know before, so if they want to join and get registered or go and make sure they're receiving communication from you guys, they can go to the website and also to get the surveys. I want to make sure that they're, we're trying to drive engagement for you guys. So
because that's where we advertise our events.
Yeah.
We have photos from past events.
Yeah.
So they can really see what the BNA is doing, and they can ask questions, and we do get tough questions, by the way, from our residents, and we want them from property managers, from board members saying, hey, we need help with XYZ. What can you do for us?
Yeah.
Right? This building is starting construction. They're pouring concrete at 5 a.m. Are they allowed to do that? Do they have a permit? So we know who to call and say, okay, let's check what permits they pulled, and should they be pouring concrete at 5 a.m. in the morning?
Absolutely.
So we're there to help the neighborhood.
Great. So again, I'll wrap all that stuff up for everybody. Every way to communicate with you guys, we'll put it in the caption so it's readily available. I'll drive everyone to your website as well, direct them to go to there if they want to, register and get, communication from you guys, emails, text, whatever you guys are doing at the time. Before we go though, you mentioned events, and I know there's an upcoming event. I want to make sure we talk about it too, because I'm excited to be involved as well. But the upcoming event here in September, we have a date. We have everything's confirmed.
It's September 23rd.
Okay.
It's going to be at Amara.
Wow, amazing.
So
talk about view.
It's a meet and greet with our commissioner, because then the residents will get to ask questions of what's going on. So we're excited.
Great.
And also September 21st, we're doing a community cleanup with cleanup.org.
Okay.
And it's an organization that does a lot of cleanup, and then we try to do also cleanups in our community. So that's September 21st. Again, it'll be out there. We're going to be publicizing it. And then
wonderful.
October 4th, right now it's tentative, but October 4th will be the Market Pace Park meeting that we're planning.
Okay, great. And again, we can put all that stuff in the caption too, so you have it there. And anyone that's watching, I'm sure you're going to send the link out and get it out to everybody. They can check it out in the caption and go from there. I want to commit again. I'll do this on camera, off camera, doesn't matter. But we'll hopefully be there, obviously, for all those events. Anytime you want us, anytime you need us. The cleanup day I mentioned to you another time. We do one similar with the Brickell Homeowner Association. But what I do is I get some of my friends together, Bar Response, Manny Pozo, Rafael Aquino from Infinity, and we actually they're kind enough to bring their boats, and we go in the bay while everyone's kind of cleaning up on land, and we do it together. And it's great because I've never done it down here in Miami, right? I've done it in New York, but like down here last year when we got the boat and we went into the bay and in the river and under the bridge, the amount of trash was unbelievable. And you don't realize it till you take it all out and you have to take it off the boat in the bags, and you realize how heavy everything is and how much garbage, unfortunately, is in there. But it's pretty gratifying.
Maybe you guys can join us on September 21st.
I'd love to. That's what I'm saying. So let's talk about it. I just have to get organized, and if those gentlemen are nice enough to donate their boats, we'll do it. I'm going to do it, and it's pretty impactful.
Yeah, and look, we do the cleanups because we understand the city is growing, right, and they need employees. Yeah. But as community residents, we should care about the neighborhoods we live in also, and it's okay to pick up some garbage once in a while.
Yeah, 100%. I agree. Well, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Matt, for having me. Appreciate it.
We can do this anytime.
Okay.
Anytime you want to come in and talk and get a word out to everybody, obviously come by. We'll sit right here in the Griffin studio and do that. Again, I'm going to put all the possible ways that they can communicate with the B&A in the caption. They can follow up, website, socials, LinkedIn, emails, everything. Again, for us, I want to say thank you to the B&A, thank you to the board, thank you to Aaron, thank you to you. Our relationship is I think great. It's constantly growing. I'm always available to you guys. GlobalPro, our team, everybody's always available to you guys. So I want to make sure we end on that note. And thank you.
Thank you. You guys are great partners. We really appreciate all your support.
Thank you. Join us next time right here in the Griffin studio at the Nucleus Hub. Again, my name is Matt Sengsourinh, host of the Recovery Report Live today. If you need any information, like I said, it's going to be down in the caption. If you like this episode or you like GlobalPro in general, just make sure you subscribe and like everything. Follow us on social media, LinkedIn, and right here on YouTube. We'll see you soon. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.